That's fair enough. Either way, man. Hi, I'm Jim. I heard you're from Pennsylvania. I just started a second ago, or northern Pennsylvania. I'm from Philly, so nice to meet you, man. I am at least, I consider myself like a moderate Trump supporter.
Hmm.
So you want to debate? Do you have a subject you want to start on? I know you were hitting with fiat currency and with the other guy, which he didn't seem to really understand. I also disagree with some of the stuff you said about that. I also feel like there's a much stronger argument to make about border control. So you pick, man. It's your show.
Well, some of the questions I ask to see what kind of Trump supporter you are is first off about the January 6th pardons. How do you feel about those?
I feel like that was a mistake. I feel like one of my biggest complaints about Trump is that he kind of sees things as like a red versus blue only sort of thing. Like he's very naive when it comes to like the necessity of politicking, and I feel like that's because he has not been part of the system. He's kind of an outsider stumbling into it, and he thinks that gives him an advantage. So I do actually criticize him for that. I feel like there were definitely probably some people that were arrested in there that on a case by case basis I would say weren't worth probably worth pardoning, but there are definitely some people like something that made me sick. There was that Capitol Hill police officer that was killed. There were some people there that committed murder. Like for instance, I don't believe we should have pardoned those people whatsoever.
Well, yeah, I mean, traumatic brain
Mm.
injuries and fingers lost, and there's at least there's a good
Mhm.
number of people that were directly assaulting officers. I will say when
Correct.
Republicans talk about like, oh, this person was wrongly persecuted or prosecuted, if you look up their name, you can usually find a court case and see exactly what they did. I promise there's no one that just walked in that day that served more than 30 days or 2 months in jail or whatever. Anyone that was in there for like anyone that was still in jail when Trump came and pardoned them was a
They were,
violent offender or they did something else. Whenever like I think
yeah.
Charlie Kirk says they should all be pardoned because they're all like they were all violated due process. They were not violated due process in any sense of the word. So
No, no. I won't say they were violated due process. I feel like perhaps some of the and you even made the point that there was a lot of like basic like minor assaults that occurred alongside the more serious things, and I'm assuming. Uh, Actually, I did not look this up, so I'll have to take you at your word with that. That they did not spend very long in jail whatsoever.
well,
So
even
their
pushing an
pardon.
officer in any situation, let alone storming a government building to like slow
Yes, yes.
down the certification of an election is going to be a pretty big deal. If you even touch an officer on purpose, it's going to be a legal issue in anywhere. Um, yeah, I guess like
Mm,
I would probably say that Trump looked at that. He said recently the cops are the enemy on that day, and the rioters are on his side. He met with one of the leaders of January 6th that was charged with evidence with sedition against the U.S. government and against
mm,
America. So like he is on that side. So we don't need to talk about that too
yes,
much. But I think Trump has clearly made it known he's happy with what happened that day, and he probably wanted it to happen given all the
yes,
pardons
and
and
that's.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you were gonna say.
No, and that's the difficult part. Is I think that's why Trump ran 99% or 100% negative ads for the campaign, because he wins by making his opponents look bad. He doesn't really win by making himself look good, and I think that's bad for politics in general. But Trump won with some of the lowest approval ratings in American history. He's already very low, so those are big things. The other stuff I'd bring up as huge points. The Elon
Mm,
Musk stuff, where Elon Musk definitely stole information from our government information to use an AI to train AI. We know that servers were accessed by Russia and China when they were doing that as well with Doge, accessing our government's private information and sensitive information. And also, Trump deals with Qatar right now, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. All those Middle Eastern countries are giving Trump properties in their countries, giving Trump gifts.
correct.
There's Chinese billionaires giving Trump $300 million who are tied to TikTok. So like that's the
Mm,
biggest corruption scheme in American history from the president, using the office to make money, using the White House as a place for tours for the
mm.
people that give him the most money personally. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. Also consider supporting my channel in the description down below. Thank you.
It's definitely the most. I would say the most public, but like uh, when you say like the biggest, like are we just talking about we have the most evidence about it, like that are outright immediate?
It's the
Because like
biggest
we
we have
definitely
any
have
proof
other.
of.
Because I don't know about that because we've gone over the years. We definitely have had multiple presidents that have actually had um, like different various corruption scandals. Like we go back to we're talking about like Nixon and what was he was involved in. Now that didn't come to light till much later, but I definitely believe that. Yeah, I feel like if I say that it's due to his political naivety, I'm letting him off the hook because he is the president and he should be held accountable for that. For whatever, like again, one of my largest criticisms of the president is that he doesn't seem to understand that these are not just, he can't just take a gift. This isn't just like his, shopping sprees through Saudi Arabia.
Well, I'll tell you one
However,
thing. Like, yeah, okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
I would say, however, and not to dismiss it, because you are right, and I would say that political corruption is definitely something we need to uh, kind of tack down on. However, would you not agree that the current like dealings and the current workings that we are making with these countries, where we are attempting to sway them away from Chinese and Russian influence? And I know, I assume, I don't know, because I actually only started watching you for a little bit tonight. You probably would say, like, Trump and Russia have a big link together, and we want to get to that. We can get to that. But, like, is it not necessary for us to court Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and these things to remove them from the Eastern Bloc? I mean, we already have this growing financial movement like BRICS that is attempting to actively usurp and undermine the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency for the world. Excuse me. And I feel like, although some of the decisions that he's making is very difficult and perhaps self-serving, that he is able to get in there and talk to these people.
So
Whereas
like
Biden,
when it comes to Trump like thinking he can make deals or whatever, I don't think he cares about America at all. I mean Syria, for example. Syria gave him a plan to have a Trump Tower there, and the next day he removed all sanctions on Syria. With Saudi Arabia, he brought Elon Musk, Sam Altman, the CEO of BlackRock. He brought them with him to Saudi Arabia to give them access to the U.S. government and Saudi Arabian government to crack deals to benefit his biggest donors. And with Qatar, Qatar makes so much money, blood money, killing American troops. They have bounties on American heads. These countries have purposely assassinated American journalists and approved strikes on American journalists. And Trump was there shaking their hands today and giving them huge praises. And like the fact that the plane thing is insane as well. The plane gift, quote unquote gift.
oh yeah,
There's really nothing like what's happening right now. There's no, like, if you bring up Nixon, there's nothing Nixon level. Like, Watergate happens every day right now. The Doge stuff is insane. Like, and we can't go into any of this stuff, and that's the point. I can't go into any of these issues with you enough without us talking for 10 hours, because they purposely do it all at once because we can't focus enough on one of the on one of the things. Or even Elon Musk killing every agency in the government that was investigating his companies for corruption and fraud. Like, it's just like, it's a wacky world where the richest man in the world is seen as a hero. And now I hear people think Bernie Sanders is corrupt because RFK said so. We're like anti-measles vaccine. We're like, everything is just like going kind of crazy. And one more point just on turning countries away from, turning countries towards the West. I don't think that's inherently a bad thing, but Trump is not doing this for good reasons. There's a reason he's praising the Houthis and Hamas right now. It's because he was paid off. Because Israel also pays him off, and Qatar and Saudi, they all came with bigger paychecks, and Trump's like, oh, I guess I'm pro Houthis now, which is insane. It makes sense why Trump changes his mind so much, because it's whoever can flatter him more. Kamala was right about that. And that's what the intelligence briefings said. You can flatter Trump to get concessions and deals, and that is true. But on China, Trump's tariffing the entire world at 10%. Has increased China's exports to all-time highs. They have struck an all-time high in trade deals with other countries. If we would have just tariffed China, it might have made sense, but we tariffed every country in the world. Allies, we said we want to invade Canada, Mexico, Greenland. Like, we have turned countries to the east, to China, to Russia, more than we have in American history. And also, one final thing, it's really hilarious to me to see the Trump White House say how it's so important to go to Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all these different countries that put bounties on American troops' heads. We have to use all these resources for them. But then with Ukraine, it's not our job to be involved in Ukraine. We could give all the arms to Saudi Arabia, Israel. We could empower Qatar. We could do UAE. We could do all this stuff. But Ukraine, oh my God, we can't. And Zelensky follows everything Trump says. Putin has spit in Trump's face multiple times, and Trump is sounding like a little baby. Like, Vladimir, no, I think Vladimir may have changed. It's like, it's so crazy.
I just want to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you in the middle there,
You're
but
good,
you
you're
said
good.
something that this always not you, but whenever this comes up, and I have to remember this, it gets on my nerves. That the one thing that I absolutely infuriates me is that he is so anti-Ukraine. He is so anti-Ukraine, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, but you're right. Zelensky basically kowtowed around to Trump, and he didn't get anything for it because the man is fighting against a nuclear power. That is, I think, the one thing that we will agree on outright. I'm not even gonna. I won't.
And America's the reason
fight
they have
that
no
out.
nukes too. America's the reason they have no nukes.
Yes, but if we were going to blame that, if we were going to point to blame, I don't think we can point that directly at Trump. We would have to say every
Oh no,
major
not
politician.
Trump. But
Yeah,
the point is,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
if we denuclearize a country and we don't back them, then no other countries are going to give up their nukes ever.
Right. Why?
Because of that.
The
So
solution is, if we want to talk about later down the road, like, hey, North Korea, you don't need nukes. It's very reasonable for North Korea to be like, we saw you do this before. So I agree with
Ukraine,
that.
yeah.
I agree with that.
And also the Afghanistan translators
yeah,
we're going to send back. Like we might send back the Afghan. Like the idea we're bringing the South Africans here, but not the Afghanistan people that risk their entire lives to support America to be translators. We're not going to give them safe havens here.
Yeah.
I hope they will. I hope they'll reverse that decision. But it's really, I don't like that. Yeah.
I do hope that they reverse their decision, because those men and women and all those people have if you fight alongside us, like you're basically part of our brotherhood. But Qatar, that's something I want to say, is that I feel like do you not think it's a slight attribution to say that Qatar is responsible for those bounties, for those deaths of American soldiers, when it's like the Muslim Brotherhood, Al Qaeda, I believe they have Hamas affiliation as well, although that's a little bit more complicated. But like we've said, we can point to these terror groups that they're directly backing, but like we have to point to Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, all of them back these terror groups as well. So I don't agree with the idea that we shouldn't deal with Qatar because they are actively being antagonistic to us. We're forced to do it because they are part of this larger plan to swap more countries away from the China, Russia, India bloc influence.
No, I would say that it is something Trump has excused in the past with like Russia putting bounties on American troops, which you know for a fact with the Taliban. So I would say, I mean, by relation, putting all those countries into the same grouping, I think it does make sense to say that at least historically. And Trump himself said that Qatar is a huge sponsor of terrorism when he was president the first term, before before the money got to him. That was a huge conversation. But it does seem like it's pretty. They don't really have many values when it comes to America on the global stage, which I think is really bad. Because if America is not leading the global stage, then we are going to lose global freedom, in my opinion. If we are not going to be a leader in that, so.
Yeah, I've often I was like 20 years ago, I was a Navy guy, and I always said that the U.S. Navy is responsible for global trade, and we keep backing off on that. And I don't think that he understands.
Oh, no one understands that, man. No one understands. Like they always say, America's getting screwed over, but like the post World War II globe has benefited America. That's the reason we're the most powerful, richest country in the world, and we act like Cambodia and Vietnam are screwing us over because they make our shoes. It just makes. If people are mad about the rich having too many resources, that's one thing. But America is the richest country for a reason. I don't know why people think we're getting screwed over. Like that's why we give foreign aid to countries, because if we give foreign aid to Guatemala for their pea farmers, there's less migrants and we have more trade routes. So yeah.
They remember exactly, and I think that the idea that I believe that we should have both like a border control and an immigration reform, but like as you said, if we can invest a little bit in our nearby countries where a lot of these migrants will come from, we can slow the flow of people that need to come here or want to come here, and we can gain some benefit in return by promoting trade. But I believe that this tariffs and this is God, I'm so sorry to even say this, because I feel like I just got to spit it out, because this is one of those things I feel like I would talk too long about for this segment. The tariffs are part of this like gambit to weigh the U.S. economy, which is massive. It can withstand multiple recessions against that global trade. I believe at the end of this, because I don't think it's genuine. I'm sorry, I don't think it's genuine to say that tariffs have never benefited a country that have put it upon them, but they need to be that have issued them, but they need to be lightly used. This is just a massive scaling up of previous
Well, that's a
attempts to
caveat too. Like
completely
any
run trade
tariffs
wars.
of this
Yeah,
size for this developed nation, typically you'll see India use large tariffs. But even the justification for the numbers
yeah,
in the tariffs has been complete lies and fake. And that's why we're losing so much in our bond markets, and our debt's going to be more expensive because less people are buying American bonds and trusting the
yes,
American dollar. So. And a lot of that is our military influence as well. And if we're going to be pressuring Europe to not support Ukraine as much and threatening to cut off intel, we have cut off intel to Ukraine, which also makes
we
no
have, yeah,
sense for any reason.
which is the
Um,
weapon they needed. Yeah,
and like
they
I
cost
always
us
tell
nothing.
about like in general too, when it comes to intel, the NATO training exercises with Ukraine, like we have gotten back so many billions of dollars, probably some priceless information from Ukraine fighting in 21st century warfare, drone warfare.
Mm.
We're learning so much from them for our missile defense systems because we get a copy of whenever a Patriot system fires off there, we have a copy of that. We're perfecting our system.
Right.
So like Ukrainian soldiers are dying and paying the ultimate price to give us
Yeah,
data for this stuff. It's not like America, like we
we're
paid Americans to do these weapons, we paid Americans to facilitate the shipment, and now we get the intel back from Ukraine. So even in that standpoint, supporting Ukraine makes sense.
in a bit of a brutal way to say it. Every time a Russian and Ukrainian soldier exchange weapons fire, we are gaining vital intel that proves that Russia cannot exert influence upon the larger world. But were you a military man by any chance, or have
Oh
you
no,
just done a lot of reading
I
on this
had
subject?
family. I had family and friends.
Understandable. Okay. No, no, it's fine. I just was curious because I was like, not a lot of people will actually bring up like how much mass gets read off of a single like Patriot missile battery firing against
Oh
a
yeah, and like
Indian war
I know
veteran,
they.
not them.
No, I just do like I like
Yeah,
to know about things that I talk about, and I talk about Ukraine a lot.
it's good. No,
And like
it's good.
even like they
Yeah,
found out the ghillie suits if they wear a certain amount insulation with the ghillie suits, it's harder for the drones to detect heat
mm,
signatures at certain distances as well. So
the
another
thermal
thing Ukraine found out. Yeah,
terrifying. Thermal warfare is completely terrifying. But
yeah.
I guess to summarize, what I was trying to say is that as far as these other sort of, I don't want to call them military kind of expenditures, but um, I think the idea that we're trying to supplement any defense budget that we are spending with this economic pressure is the idea. Yes, we are down. Yes, the markets are down, but like any large market change will do that. I believe if we are successful, this will wrap back up. And I mean, I guess we all hope that this is successful, but obviously we're scared that this will create another massive
Well, I
recession.
would say
Um,
with the tariffs, I don't see any economic benefit to them. The only thing I see that they like about it, the same thing with ICE, is that it's another executive function Trump can do by himself, and there's loopholes, there's legal loopholes, and Trump can use it to get donations from companies that want exemptions. And that's the big thing about these isolationist countries like North Korea and everything. They do things that are not good for the country, but are good for them maintaining power. And I think it's another power mechanism. I mean, hopefully there's some rhyme or reason for it, but I just don't believe there is. And also, just one more thing for the chat on the Ukraine thing.
yeah,
The most embarrassed I've been as an American is watching Zelensky speaking his like fifth language in the Oval Office and having JD Vance and Trump lie their asses off about everything about Ukraine and yelling at him when he's trying to get the words off in a different in like a fifth language that he speaks. And saying, have you even said thank you? When Zelensky has said thank you publicly and with more passion than any world leader in any conflict I've ever seen in my entire life. And JD Vance and Trump never even approved aid. Like JD Vance voted against all aid to
yeah,
Ukraine. Trump didn't. He never supported it. He never even sent any so far. There have been no aid packages done under Trump. And the aid that was passed under Biden was sent under Trump only because he
yeah,
stopped
okay.
pausing the already assigned like congressional allocated funds. And it's just like because of the minerals deal is making him happy. But again, everything's a quid pro quo. Everything's like a mafia game. Like, oh, you know, I get a percentage of your business, or you
Yeah,
know, like, or we're gonna kill your family. Like, we're giving you protection and danger, depending on which way you're
I
gonna, you know.
I would phrase it a slightly different way, but I understand that you have it sounds like you're adverse to like this level of cutthroat politics. I feel like there's some benefit to them, but I feel like if I may speak out to any of my fellow Republicans that are lurking around your chat, I would say one of the more beneficial things we can do is don't just go along with everything. Speak up when you're like, no, I don't think, speak up to your congressman or anything. Like, these people deserve to be criticized. I'm not going to blindly say I agree with all of these things, but I do think in the long term, this will have been a better presidency than what we've gotten with Kamala Harris, in my opinion. And I guess that's what I can say about it, man. I'm not going to I'm not going to defend all that stuff that happened with Ukraine. I can't do it.
We'll
I don't have it in my
see.
heart, brother.
I
Well, we'll
guess my
see.
main
God,
points after
I
that.
hope.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at American tourism right now, for the first time in history, I think more countries favor China over the U.S. So China's reigning supreme. We removed a lot of USAID stuff, which I'm not going to say it all helps people, but it does help American influence. China is replicating our programs and going into areas we left, and they're taking up influence in those areas as well, which I know you understand. You understand soft power and trade routes and how big that can be. And like I said, Canada, Mexico, Europe, they're all trying to find ways to go towards away from us. And for American independence, I know people want that. America needs Canada and Mexico to have a safe North America and a self-sustainable North America. We need the resources of Mexico and Canada and the workforce, the workforce that'll do the base level manufacturing of Mexico. And the immigrants always did the shitty jobs, whether it's Irish, Polish, Chinese, like they all did the shitty jobs. So.
And I know we look down a lot on Mexico as like, oh, they're the poor one, but like that's in North America. It's really hard for some people who just live here to be like, Canada, the U.S. and Mexico are extremely,
and they want to work with us too. They complain a lot about us giving guns to Mexico. Like our guns go into Mexico for the cartels, and you know Trump complains about drugs from Mexico, but we never talk about the other way around. But also, so tourism is down to the U.S. like 30%, which is going to be really bad for the economy. Overall confidence in the market, it's really hard for businesses to make any type of plan if the president has executive power to turn tariffs on and off, and if he's very unstable like this. Because then, you know, if you're going to make a 10-year plan as an investor, you might just wait for him to be gone if you don't get actual policies done. And Trump gets nothing done through actual Congress because I don't think he's a leader. He pounds his table. He says, get this done, do it. And that's how he views the world. And he views the world, I think it is like a sort of like a child mentality, but it's also, you know, if you want things to change, you need it done through law. Executive orders at the border don't matter. And Trump got that one immigration bill killed. Manufacturing in America is going down right now, especially for the industries we need for chips and semiconductors, because manufacturing is freezing and materials are more expensive. So when it comes to Kamala versus Trump, and also Trump wants to kill healthcare, and he has no plan for healthcare. He had no plan during the campaign. So we can go through whatever number of policies, but.
Apologies. You finish your thought. Because I say, did we not just actually get with something today where he is attempting to actually put price controls upon the consumer end of pharmaceuticals?
Oh, that's a fun conversation actually, because the price control conversation, putting direct price controls is like the socialist policy they all make fun of, where it's like, oh, the shelves are going to be empty. You need a real process to negotiate prices down, and it needs to be with like conversations, knowing the supply of the pharmaceutical companies, knowing what the price margins are in other countries. You can't just like Trump, I call them just like, I don't even call them executive orders from Trump. I call them virtue signals, because Trump has signed executive orders to do everything. Like I have executive order that my staff needs to wipe my asshole. Like he signed one that said like, we are going to bring back American manufacturing, and he signed it. He's like, all right, guys, it's back. It's like, that's not how this works. Or like the pharmaceutical drugs thing, we're going to make them cheaper. It's like, no, that's not how they become cheaper. You need actual Congress to actually do something with, which, I mean, I think it's a virtue signal though.
That part of the, man, I hate that. No, I get what you're calling it that though. That's a fair way to put that. But when he says something like that, like you have to understand, like that's part of like the showmanship of politicking. And I feel like something that, yes, you're right. He does do it blatantly, and he kind of does it. I almost want to say like you see a little bit too much of the man behind the curtain sort of thing. Like it's too showy. You know what I mean? But like this is the executive orders. Trump, I feel like and you have not done this, so I'm not going to point my finger at you in any way and say this, but he does, the last few presidents have not signed nearly as many executive orders as past presidents. I know that's something that people keep saying, but I don't understand why that is such a controversial thing when you've had, I guess Roosevelt's kind of an unfair one to point because he was in office so long and because of this situation, but like, apologies, I'm going to get these numbers wrong, so I feel like it would be disingenuous to put them up there, but I know that like Hoover and Truman had like over 1,000 in their like, you know, their 8-year term, and like we're not even reaching levels like that at this point. So I don't feel like I kind of feel like that's a non-issue to me. Like
just to say no, like I have a graph in front of me. So like for FDR, FDR hit 100 executive orders at around like 70 days. Trump hit it at 40 days. So Trump is at a pace to set the record by far. Like he's at if you look up like Trump versus FDR versus Hoover, Hoover and Truman, and they all have those four have the highest. But Trump right now is going wild with executive orders. It's actually breaking the x axis, and like it's killing it. It's killing it. It's going extremely high. But yeah, someone said in chat really interesting point. Sorry, just really quick. Someone said in chat about this might be designed because Trump hates the courts, which is a key sign of a dictator, by the way. But yeah, it might be designed to do the executive order on pharmaceutical drugs because if a court strikes it down, he can say, "Hey, look, guys, the courts want to prevent drug prices from being lower." So I could see that as a point if he wants to delegitimize the courts further. Thank you, Epoch.
So it could be a performative. You think it could be so outrageous that
it is performative, but it depends for what reason.
Yes, entirely. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Interesting. I'll have to say that I don't know yet, and I will look up the executive orders thing because that is interesting to me. Like I said, I'm not going to in any way, shape, or form because the one that I feel like I would go to as a jump is Roosevelt, and that is completely unfair. That's a totally different issue.
Well,
but
he's killing Roosevelt too. So
no shit, really.
Yeah, he is a lot more than FDR, and the thing is, FDR was in the Great Depression and wartime, and Trump is killing his record for.
Yeah, I would say that's why that's not comparable to him, and I will look that up. I will as a promise, as a good faith argument, I will say that I'll
it's one thing to keep in mind too. Like, why is Trump only doing executive orders? Why is he trying to expand executive? And that's what Project 2025 is, by the way. It's expanding executive power, having unitary executive, where the executive branch matters more than any other branch of the government, where there is really no check and balance to it. And I think there's a reason Trump does not do anything with actual legislation through Congress because he doesn't believe in the democratic part of government, which is, democratic part of government is Congress. That's a representative. And then we have the judicial branch to be law and order, independent judiciary, and Trump does not like either of those. He wants the executive to be the only thing, which is what the founding fathers really warned about. And if you read the Declaration of Independence, by the way, it says a lot of things Trump is doing right now.
If he starts, I will be very upset if he starts putting the export tax tariffs on there. I feel like that's if he does that, or if allegedly people are saying that he's looking at the habeas corpus suspension, I will be.
Oh yeah, habeas corpus suspension is literally what Hitler does, and I'm okay. I'm not gonna say Hitler because people say that's a meme. Okay, it's what every single Mussolini, Mao, whoever. Yeah.
I'll be out in the streets with you on that one, man. So I mean.
Okay, I appreciate that you're like reasonable on those things. All I ask always is just like we're not too tied to ideology, so.
I feel like I'm the least. I get it because, like, a good argument would be someone who would actually mirror like the Trump talking points. But I am critical of the man. I feel like I just feel like unfortunately we're going to fundamentally disagree on a lot of stuff when it comes to like kind of powers, exports, and like currency. But it has been a pleasure talking to you.
No, we can chat again sometime too about something else because I would want to. These conversations are really good too because I feel like I'm confident if we talked for a few hours, for example, and we had a chance to go through all data sets and every single thing about Trump and Harris and Biden. I don't like Harris, by the way. I don't like Biden. Okay, so like I'm really unhappy with Democrats in general. They are a terrible. I mean, Republicans are worse, but Democrats are pathetic as an opposition party. It should be easy to defeat Donald Trump in elections. I don't care who you are; it should be easy. It should be easy. But like, all I was gonna say is like, I would definitely be interested in talking again about Democrats and about like more specifics because I think a lot of this is a difference in information environments and what news we see more often. And maybe there's some things I don't see as often for why I don't understand other Trumpers' perspectives. But it is a fact that like when Trumpers call in, they're usually really aggressive, and I usually match energy. But if someone like you calls in, then I have really normal conversation, which I do prefer.
No, absolutely. I actually prefer it. I wasn't sure what I was getting out of this, and I'm like, screw it. Let me see. This guy is trying his best to try to state your point. And you sound like I don't like putting myself in a because I'll say that I'm like conservative, but like, would you say that you're like like you don't like the Democratic mainstays, or you like a more left-leaning liberal, or something like that, or?
I really don't care about positions, really. I don't care about like ideology or about. I care about policies that work to make people's lives better. I can be easily shifted. That's why I agree with some free market things, some social democratic things. So I could agree with like universal health care. I don't agree with like Medicare for all, but I do agree with having a multi-payer system like other countries that have universal health care. So like I'm very flexible on those things.
People on the internet call people like us moderates and hate us. So I God bless you for showing up and doing this. Man.
Oh no, I'm a radical leftist. Okay, anyone like me is a radical leftist. Okay, and you're probably a racist to some leftists. So you're probably just like a Nazi.
Absolutely. Clearly, I'm over here putting the armband on as we speak. But
You're
hey, man,
pro-Ukraine.
it's been
I
good
mean,
speaking to
Ukraine.
you.
Yeah, Ukraine hates America. So, yeah, I appreciate it, man. Definitely
Oh,
call in again sometime. But yeah, I
absolutely.
really appreciate this.
Good luck tonight. You take care of yourself.
All right,
See you
thank
guys.
you too. Have a good one. Every single one of us is media. For us to overcome what's happening right now, we all need to push in the right direction. Whether you make your own content, if you share my content or another creator you like, thank you so much for supporting this. We all need to do our job, and I really appreciate what you have to give, whether it's financial or not. If you cannot afford to donate, do not donate. Share the video around, drop a like, comment, subscribe. You are helping more than you could ever imagine.